Hey guys, it's Matt. I didn't plan on making a video today. I'm trying to finish this book, but I wrote a few lines about this. This is one of my favorite bullshit backstories of all time. The theme of this week seems to be litmus tests, retard tests, IQ tests on the public. This is another one. Each video this week surpasses the prior in terms of a litmus test or a retard test on the masses, where if they believe it, they're as dumb as if they believed the topic in the last video. One of my favorite BS backstories of all time is how the Oscar for the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, how the Oscar got its name. And they create confusion. And there's a leading theory that it looked like someone who worked for the Academy's Uncle Oscar. This is actually what they try to pass off. I'll show it to you. It was originally the Academy's librarian in the 40s. We'll get to the details. It's all absurd. They create confusion on purpose. They say this is a leading story, but there could be several other reasons why this award, the Golden Phallus, is called the Oscar. Well, it's obvious what it is. And because no one in the history of news or Entertainment Tonight, CNN, Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper, anybody that's ever covered the Oscars, anybody that ever gave a review of who won what award, no one in 50 years has ever mentioned this in a way, you know what I'm going to say, when just another thing that gives reality away. The Oscar is obviously the golden phallus or dick of Osiris. The legend, I'll talk about how the legend and lore of Isis and Osiris is intentionally being confused. In the research, you go back as a truth researcher and you look at something now and you looked at it 5 years ago, and it's completely different in the way the internet is presenting it now. We'll talk about that phenomenon in a little bit. But the original story, still confirmed by some research you can find if you dig and dig and dig, it's very simple. Set, or Seth, even that's confused, killed or murdered his brother, the Egyptian god Osiris. Isis, the husband of Osiris, recovered the body. Set, or Seth, was pissed off that she recovered the body. This is a simplification of a story that's already pretty simple. So he found out, Set, that she had recovered the body. Then he cut Osiris up into 14 pieces. Isis, who thought she could put her husband back together again like Humpty Dumpty, I think the stories could be related. Probably not, but you never know the way these creeps do business. She was only able to find 13 of the pieces. Put your hands out. 13 pieces. What happened to the last piece, and what piece was missing? The dick was missing. It was apparently eaten by a fish or a catfish at the bottom of the Nile. Ew. I thought Frank was kind of cute. Ew. So she didn't have that piece. So she puts Humpty Dumpty back together again and crafts a golden dick to complete it. Therefore, she needs the golden dick so they can eventually have Horus. Okay. The golden dick of Osiris, the final piece to make him whole, is obviously the Academy Award. When a director or a well-known actor or actress doesn't have an Oscar or doesn't have the Academy Award, what's typically the conversation? They're not whole. They're not complete without this award. Will it be this year when Leonardo DiCaprio, they all seem to have the Oscar at this point, but there's always one or two. Will this year the Academy finally honor this actor, and will they finally become complete? The Death Star will be complete. Will they become whole? You're not a real success in Hollywood until you have all your pieces back together, until the final piece, the golden dick, is received. And then you go up on stage and you praise who gave you the golden dick, and then you stroke it, and who knows what else they do with it. But of course, that's what it is. Here's the main Wikipedia page for the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences with their main logo. The Oscar, which isn't Oscar the way they say it is, you know what it is now, inside the pyramid. Okay, is that the Great Pyramid? It doesn't matter. The pyramid has roots and origin, of course, that traces directly back to ancient Egypt. I could keep going on and on, guys. I don't have to prove to you anything. If I thought my videos would get to 20 or 50 people that aren't in our circles, then I would keep going. But what's the point? Nobody outside of our circles ever hears the words that are coming out of my mouth. That's obvious, but the main point of this video is the bullcrap, hilarious backstories that they give the general public and the great unwashed. Nobody ever mentions that there could be another interpretation, and how perfect their presentation is in terms of the confusion and hiding the real truth, in a way, gives reality away. We have like 1,000 of these examples by now. So let me continue to show you this biography, that's Philly, biography article. And of course, the image is spaghetti scrimmages. They control all images on the web, which makes perfect sense. See the name at the top left there? I can't say. Yeah, that's why I had to cut the damn image off. The Academy Awards are the most prestigious film awards in the world, but the prizes are seldom referenced by their proper name. Here we go. The 8.5-pound, 13.5-inch tall golden trophy, 13.5-inch, just short of 14 pieces of Osiris. Isn't that convenient? Just short of the 14 pieces to make Osiris whole. Commonly referred to as the Oscar, the nickname was adopted in 1939, but where did the Oscar name come from? That's a question of some dispute. No, it's not. That's the confusion you're creating, sir. And the definitive answer may never be known. It is known in your creepy circles. It may never be known to the general populace and the great unwashed, but I assure you and all you that step into the pentagram know. Sorry. The nickname arose in the 1930s according to the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, but several different people claim to have coined it. First up, Margaret Herrick. A picture from the 40s, but again owned by Spaghetti Scrimmages, so I can't show it to you. Outlined in purple, the most famous and widely accepted origin story for the name Oscar is credited to Margaret Herrick, the Academy's first librarian. The story goes that Herrick saw one of the awards sitting on an executive's desk and remarked, "He reminds me of my Uncle Oscar." Oh my God. If you believe that, every video I'm saying it now, if you believe that, you're one of the stupidest human beings ever to exist on the face of the earth. Matt, you stole that from Bill Cooper. I did steal it from Bill Cooper. I'm glad you recognized it. I like the way he said that. But Matt, you should know Bill Cooper may be a Freemason, and certain of his lectures are associated with certain types of deceptions. You better be careful with that. I had no idea. Doing this for almost 15 years, I didn't know that. I didn't know that those types of rumors exist regarding he or David Icke or Jordan Maxwell. You know, I don't care who they are, what label they're given, where they're initiated. If I listen to a Jordan Maxwell lecture and he's talking for 30 minutes about the relationship between 50 terms that relate money to water, current sea, the bank of a river, a bank where you put money, a relationship between money and water, that is accurate. That is factual. I don't care what his label is or what he ultimately represents. I'm adult enough and big enough to discern what resonates with me, and I'll leave the other parts behind. Continuing to read, the person named Oscar in question was Oscar Pierce, a Texas fruit and wheat grower, and although she affectionately called him her uncle, he was in fact her first cousin, once removed her mother's cousin. Academy staff reportedly overheard Herrick's offhanded remark, and it stuck, becoming the statuette's unofficial nickname. You have got to be kidding me. When something is as important to them as what the Oscar truly represents, they will lay down false breadcrumbs at every turn. They will create confusion, as they're doing here. So it's not just Margaret or whatever her name was. It's also attributed to this Forrest Gump here, whoever this freak is. It says, famous Hollywood columnist Sidney Sklosky claimed he came up with a nickname while writing about the 6th Academy Awards in 1934, just the way the people that roam around the internet say they wrote The Matrix. He claimed he was tired of constantly having to write gold statuette, finding the latter word both pretentious, whatever that means. I'm going to see if somebody comments, and difficult to spell. So he didn't like, my fingers hurt. He didn't like writing gold statuette, so he came up with Oscar. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. The stories get more and more absurd. They do. The snobbery of that particular Academy Award annoyed me. Sklotsky wrote in his book, Don't Get Me Wrong, I Love Hollywood. I wanted to make the golden statuette human. Oh, here we go. Maybe some truth will pop out of here. I'd show them acting so high and mighty about their prize. I'd give it a name that would erase their phony dignity. Oh, so this guy Sklotsky, to get up on the Academy Awards, he named it. The entire world accepted it, and they just didn't want that at all. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, I'm sorry. I should just shut this video down now. Now, all parts of a bullshit backstory likely exist for a reason. They don't do anything without a reason. What they say in The Hunt for Red October, the Ruskies don't take a dump without a plan, son. These creeps don't do anything in terms of a bullshit backstory without a reason. So what I focus on here is Sklotsky saying, I wanted to make the gold statuette human. Oh, isn't that interesting? Now, let's just say he is in the know and it's all part of a big story. What does that imply? That the gold statuette is not human. That is actually the part of a god, Osiris. He wanted to take the obvious part of a god and make it more human. So the dumb, stupid, great unwashed just thinks it's somebody's Uncle Oscar. At the end, I'd give it a name, Sklotsky said. I'd give it a name, and that would erase their phony dignity. I don't think it's like a real guy fighting with the Academy. All part of a story that has to be laid down for a certain reason. I'd give it a name, and that would erase their phony dignity. Well, it's the roundabout way of saying, I'd give it a name, so there's no chance that any of you dummies out there could ever understand it really is a penis of a god. Let's continue and see what other parts of the story we can discern the real truth from. Okay, where are we? Dignity. Sklotsky wrote that he chose Oscar. He came up with it because of an old vaudeville joke in which a comedian would ask the orchestra leader, quote, will you have a cigar, Oscar? Here you go. I hear what you're throwing rubber duckies about. Only to withdraw the cigar when the orchestra leader tried to reach for it. Sklotsky wrote, in a few years, Oscar was the accepted name. It proved to be the magic name. Oh my God. Where do we start? Could do a whole YouTube channel just in this paragraph. Sometimes a cigar is only a cigar, right? The famous line, a cigar as a metaphorical representation of you got it, the penis. Will you have a cigar, Oscar? Only to withdraw the cigar. In and out, in and out. Guys, I didn't read this paragraph before. It's so obvious to see what's going on here. Continuing to read, the Academy states that Sklotsky's column on March 16th, 1934, I'm not doing the gematria, guys, I just don't give a shit anymore. It's the first confirmed newspaper reference to the Academy Award as an Oscar. Okay, he was the first one to write about it as an Oscar. But whether he invented the term himself has been questioned. Oh, confusion, especially since the legendary Walt Disney reportedly used the term Oscar while accepting an award at the same 1934 ceremony Sklotsky was covering. More confusion. Bring in that mega creep. Do you want to know likely how it really goes down in real life? They're going to present the story that this guy, Sidney Sklotsky, he's one of the people like Margaret that potentially coined the term. But here's how it really works out. I wasn't there in their Eyes Wide Shut party, but imagine this is much closer to the truth. Phone rings. Mr. Sidney Sklotsky, we have Jack Sneed on the line. Jack Sneed? The president of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Science? Jack Sneed on the line? Hold, Mr. Sklotsky. Mr. Sklotsky, can I call you Sidney? Yes, sir. This is Jack Sneed. Of course I know who you am, sir. What can I do for you? Well, see, the Golden Award that we give Bogart and these, we're going to eventually name it something. What's the name? We're not going to share that with you, Sidney. You just shut up for now and listen. We're going to eventually name it something. And we want to use you to create a story that creates a little bit of confusion as how the name came to be. Now, would you be down for that, Sidney, going along with our little ruse? No, sir. I'm about reporting the truth. What did you just say to me, Sidney? Did you just have the gall to say to me you're about reporting the truth? Do you know what town you're working in, son? Now, you got two choices, Sidney. You better sit down, boy. You can continue to come and sit in the first 4 or 5 rows of the Academy Awards. You can go to our parties, our dinners. You can continue to have a good job. We can send this little envelope to your attention for $5,000, which is like $400 million today, and you can have a job and a house. If not, you'll have no wife, you'll have no job, you'll have no house. Now let me send you the picture of the little supermodel here we're going to hook you up with if you go along with our little ruse. If not, you'll be doing entertainment news from Siberia. Now, per the repeating theme in all Tom Cruise movies, do we understand each other, Sidney? Yes, sir. We understand each other. Matt, in trying to cover up something as important to them as what the Oscar truly represents, did they actually go forth and create more confusion? Yes, they created more confusion. Look at this. I can't show you. See, it's spaghetti scrimmages. They own every picture going back to the first picture ever taken. A circa 1940 photo of Bette Davis under the caption, but continue to read. One of the more prevalent and colorful theories is that the Oscar was named for Bette Davis, one of Hollywood's most legendary actresses. I ain't saying actors. Bette Davis herself would be called an actress. Care about your woke bullshit. Skipping to the bottom paragraph, Davis won the first of 2 Academy Awards for Best Actress in 1930. Why are they calling her actress there and actor above? What? 1936 for her performance in the drama film Dangerous, 1935. Upon receiving the statuette, Davis remarked that its naked rear end. They're doing that ham stuff again. The naked rear end of the statuette reminded her of her husband, Harmon Oscar Nelson, after getting out of the shower. Well, he had a hard-ass body, man. Look at that thing. That ain't no flabby thing. Come on. Who could possibly believe this bullshit? Article written by Colin McAvoy, senior news editor, Biography.com. His family must be very proud. Colin McAvoy joined the Biography.com staff in 2023 as a real human, not a bot. One of the few writers at Biography.com that is not an artificial intelligence and still has to use restrooms and drinks coffee in the morning. Before that, he spent 16 years as a journalist, writer, and communications professional. How does one remain a journalist today when every single story comes from the same bot and AI from the Ministry of Information? How do you look yourself in the mirror, Colin? You should be ashamed of yourself, sir, for just propagating propaganda that comes from the ministry. Guys, the hive mind aspect of how this reality works is fascinating to me. Now, look, Colin has probably no idea what we're talking about, but even if he did sense, even if this is a real boy Pinocchio at one point, even if he did sense that there's just not something right about this backstory associated with the Oscars, he knows that he can never report anything other than this BS. He just, nobody ever sat him down and said, no Men in Black came in. That's what's so fascinating about this reality. Everybody knows to go along with the frequency of the download. That proves the frequency of the download. He just knows that if he ever got wind of this video, if this video was made a year ago and it resonated with him, maybe he had a minor in his university days in Egypt mythology, and he would just know never to go there. He knows there are certain, it's like that quote from Woodrow Wilson that's complete BS, but truth has to be put out from time to time on purpose. There's something so all-powerful, all-pervasive, all that even when the most powerful men in industry and business complain about it, they do so in a whisper, that sort of thing. They just know the boundaries of where they need or cannot go to keep their job. The easiest place to see this phenomenon is in the endless white papers, research reports, and news articles about, we'll just call it, the phenomenon of primate change or global charming. You know what I mean? These writers, researchers, university grants, none of them are sat down by Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith with the pen and the Men in Black come in. They just, now, yes, they are believers in it, to a sense. That's the mind hive, the hive mind. That's the hive mind too. That's the frequency and the download. But even those that, every once in a while aren't completely, there's different types of people here. There's a lot of real people that work in universities that have huge climate projects, and they just know not to get on the other side of the line. They know where that line is somehow. And it is fascinating to me. All we try to do in this community is try to cross the line. And in turn, we C.S. Lewis great divorce the reality itself and become outcasts. And recently, we've been going back here saying, well, how do we know we're right? We're an arrogant little group. Everybody's a sheeple. Everybody's a normie. It's this sort of thing that proves we're right. When we do go into the weird place that, well, is their reality a little bit different? I mean, this proves it. I still keep that on the table, but in cases like this, just for the basic factor, are we right or are we as fooled as everyone else, just fooled in our own little segment, our own little portion or wing of the insane asylum. This proves we're right. There's no reality that exists where in my friend's reality, it really was named, the golden statuette was named after somebody's uncle. That's real. And it's not possible. In this case, that is so clearly all bullcrap. Most of the bullcrap backstories we look into, we are right. There's no reality where it was named after somebody's uncle, but in our little reality, which is different, it actually is the phallus of Osiris. Come on, man. Could you imagine what would happen to this guy's career if he was a real person, a real boy, Pinocchio? He got wind, say I put this video out, or he found other bits of information, put it together himself, and he was going to report the truth. And isn't that what journalism is for? I'm going to report for biography.com what I'm 95% sure, we're 100% sure, but what he would be 95% sure what this golden statuette really represents. Could you imagine what would happen to his career if he reported even 1/10 of what I just talked about, in this presentation? They wouldn't even give him 2 weeks. He'd never work in the industry. He'd be slugging fish on a trolling vessel outside of Alaska or something. He would be gone from the industry. He'd be gone from the state. This is a good example of what I was talking about earlier. They always emphasize Brendan Fraser finally gets the award. He becomes whole and complete, his first Oscar for portraying the 600-pound man in Whale. And they also make sure everybody knows it's not just a 600-pound man in the movie Whale. He had a certain lifestyle choice too. That's really important. I mean, what is the difference? Why does that always have to be? Sorry, that's another video, another complaint bitch session. Now he's complete. See, he is Osiris. He has all 14 pieces back. He's now part of the club. What's nice about what we're doing, or not becoming real people, we're already real people, but realizing who we are, or graduating, separating from the reality, however you want to call it. We used to call it leveling up, but I don't really like that anymore. The great news for us is everybody here, I can speak for you. Not one of us, if you were, let's just say they called me and said, not book us into the room. No, not book us into the room. Matt, we want to give you an Oscar. Now there's a new category, like they're adding breakdancing to the Olympics. Now there's a blogger category for YouTube channels, and you can win. They're going to reward you. I mean, obviously, I'm the last person they would reward for what I do here. But let's just say the point is, I wouldn't take it. Real person wouldn't want any part of it. Wouldn't care. We just said no. We don't care about any bit of celebrity. Don't covet any bit of what they do. This is just one of the symptoms of getting in touch with becoming a real person. Nothing that they could award or reward us with has any meaning to us at all. That's where I said, $1 billion. The cats are dead now. Puss in Boots. They're not even alive. If somebody said, Matt, I'll give you $1 billion for their ashes, I wouldn't even do that. Because we know what that would go along with, taking their $1 billion, right? We just don't care anymore. It's a great liberating feeling. It really is. And the final thing to talk about here, I forgot to talk about it a little ways back where I wanted to put it, is their evil genius and how this is presented. Now, at first, it seems like second grade. Matt, it's so rudimentary. These stories are ridiculous. We don't understand why the populace believes that it could be a resemblance to somebody's Uncle Oscar or look like somebody's ass. What did Betty Davis say? It looked like what the other guy, Slotsky, said. Matt, they know they don't have to work hard, and they know the stories are going to be believed in by the populace, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's not where the evil genius lies. Look what they even have us talking about. Where the name came from. See, if you can get people to concentrate, if they go not that the regular person is going to go into the areas where we go, but if you can get the conversation about where the name came from, the most important part is ignored then. Well, forget the name. Let's just say it's prior to 1935. Why did they fashion this award the way they did? Don't even think about the name Oscar before that. The golden statuette. What is it? See, if you create a name controversy and confusion around where the name came from, then that dominates the conversation, and no one's asking the real question, the most important part. Before the name, why did they do this? What is it? Who's the first person that decided to pour the mold this way, and why? These are the places we didn't even go here. See how evil genius it is? We're only getting here now. And because of this bullshit story about the name, it creates layers so no one will ever get close to the true or the only question that matters. Why did they pour the mold in this fashion and in gold in the first place? If it had no name and there was no artificial name controversy, then there's a better chance somebody that's not even in our community could start asking a few questions. Well, what is this gold thing? You get more directly to the important information if the name doesn't exist and the name controversy doesn't exist. So the name controversy is just there as layers to hide what it really is. And then you get into the final question. Brendan Fraser here, does he understand? No, absolutely not. There's probably a few around Hollywood that know what it really is, but a first-time Oscar Award winner or no. Any actors like Tom Hanks is so creepy, so involved in not Milk implementations that maybe somebody like, but for the most part, no. The people that go up and get their Oscar, I don't believe they know what it really is.